Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamu alaikum, dear viewers. So today we are back with another objection that has been leveled against Ustaz Javed Ahmed Ghamidi, according to whom there is just one reading of the Quran, the Mutawatir reading, and in the opposite camp, which is composed of a vast majority of scholars, they say that the Quran has variant readings, and these variant readings, they of course conform to certain standards, and once these standards are met, then any reading which conforms to these standards will be regarded as the Quran. The prayer can be offered on these readings and they'll be acceptable. So today we'll take a look at how Ustaz Ghamidi has presented his view on this topic, and then we'll also see how some of the objections that are leveled against him have been answered by him during this presentation. So Ustaz Ghamidi says that he does not deny that these variant readings exist. They have a source, they have an origin, and they can be understood, and they can be, of course, justified in the sense that, yes, there is an origin, but then the Quran has vehemently said that we must abandon them after a certain time, which was, of course, within the time of Prophet himself. So Ustaz Ghamidi says that the issue of variant readings can be understood if we divide historically the phases of these readings into three phases. So the first phase spans the life of the Prophet, who of course died in 12 Hijrah. The second phase extends for about half a century, in which the companions were at the helm of political affairs. And this period began with Abu Bakr anhu and ended with the reign of Muawiyah ibn Sufyan in 60 Hijrah. The third period, according to Ustaz Ghamidi, was the period of his successors and spanned up to the reign of Umar bin Abdul Aziz. So in summary, we can say that there are three phases according to Ustaz Ghamidi, if we understand this issue. First is the lifetime of the Prophet, second is the phase of the companions, and the third is the phase of the successors or the tabi'un. So as far as the first phase is concerned, Ustaz says that the Quran was revealed, this is of course accepted history and common knowledge as well, over a period of 22 years. Once it was revealed completely, it was rearranged, it was recompiled, it was given a new arrangement. And this final rearrangement was given in the last Ramadan of the Prophet's life. And then he says that this lifetime of the Prophet, or the phase of this lifetime of the Prophet, can actually be divided into two sub-phases. The first sub-phase covers the chronological revelation of the Quran, in which the Quran was being revealed piecemeal historically, one after the other in 22 years. And then there is a sub-phase in the Quran was rearranged. So the first sub-phase was when the Quran was being chronologically or historically being revealed. And then the second sub-phase was in which this chronological revelation or arrangement was given a new arrangement. So he says that the Quran is the only book whose reading has been preserved besides its written text. So in order to preserve the books that people normally write, it is the writing that normally preserves the book. But the Quran, such is the nature of the Quran, that it has that preponderance and importance, that as far as its preservation is concerned, it's not just through writing, but the manner in which it is read is also preserved. Okay, coming back to the first of these sub-phases, Ustaz says that two concessions were given to the Muslims in this first sub-phase to facilitate the reading and the teaching of the Quran. The first concession was in the pronunciation of the words. Since there were many tribes in Arabia, each tribe was allowed to recite the Quran in its own accent and pronunciation. This is the first concession, that each tribe was allowed to pronounce the Quran or to read the Quran in its own accent and pronunciation. The second concession that was given was that if people forgot any verse of the Quran or made a mistake in reading it, they were allowed to do so as long as this did not drastically change the meaning of the verse, because people could forget. And therefore, if the verse did not drastically change the meaning, so they were allowed to read it even with these changed words, would of course normally would be synonyms. So once again, summarizing, that two concessions were given in this first sub-phase, and that is every tribe was allowed to read the Quran according to its own accent and pronunciation, because there were several tribes in Arabia, so therefore this was something that was offered to all of these tribes. And the second concession was that if people forgot any verse of the Quran and they made a mistake in reading it, then they were allowed to do so as long as this had not drastically change the meaning of the Quran. So, and then he cites that both these concessions that he has come up with, they're actually backed by something that we can see from certain narratives. So he cites the first of these narratives, and this narrative is, it states that Jabir stated that God's messenger came to us while we were reading the Quran. Amongst us were Arabs and non-Arabs. At this, he said, read in whatever way you want to. All are fine. Soon those people will be born that will read according to the Arab pronunciation, the way an arrow is straightened, but would want the immediate gains of this world and ignore the later world. So this becomes evident from this narrative that the Prophet did not bind people to read the Quran the way he read it. He gave them leverage, as is evident from this narrative. Similarly, he also accepted any mistake or forgetfulness as long as it did not drastically change the meaning. For this, he cites another narrative. So this narrative is Ishaq reported from his father, who reported from Ishaq's grandfather. A person read out a verse before Umar, who corrected him. So the person said, I have read this out before the Prophet, and he did not correct me. He said, we then came over and gathered before the Prophet. That person then read out the verse before the Prophet, who said, you have read it correctly. So Umar was disturbed at this, and the Prophet said, O Umar, all what you read from the Quran is correct, as long as punishment is not changed with mercy and vice versa. So you can see that this particular aspect is covered in this particular narrative, that as long as there is not a major change in the meaning, when people would learn the Quran and they would substitute it with other words, maybe, or synonyms or close to synonyms, then the Prophet did not object to it, because you see, people were trying to acclimatize themselves with the Quran. They were learning a new scripture, and this concession was given to them. So now Ustaz says that the types of mistakes that people would make also have been recorded in history and historical books. For example, Zarkashi and Suyuti, they have recorded the types of mistakes that people would make, and they were not actually corrected for this, because, as I said earlier on, Ustaz says that it was part of the learning process, and if it did not change the meaning drastically, then it would be accepted. So the first of this is that can be actually titled as variation harakat, which means vocalization of a word, which neither changes the shape of the word nor the meaning. For example, the words are allazina yabkhaluna wa ya'muruna an-nasa bil bukhl. So those who are miserly and direct others to be miserly as well. So the word bukhl has also been pronounced as bakhl. And this shows that the vocalization of a word is something that is acceptable. Another type is in which variations in the letters of the alphabet which change the meaning without a change in the shape and vowel sounds. So that's, for example, in Surah Baqarah, verse 259, we have kaifa nunshizuha, which means how we bring together his bones. But another reading of the same verse is kaifa nunshiruha. So instead of a za, we have a ra. The mutawatir reading, of course, is the kaifa nunshizuha, how we bring together his bones. But someone also read as kaifa nunshiruha, exactly it has the same meaning, how we bring his bones back. So now you can see that this is the letters of the alphabet which change, but the meaning of the word does not change. Nunshiruha and nunshizuha both have the same meaning. Similarly, another example is variations which change the shape of a word without changing its meaning. That also was allowed. For example, it was said, in kanat illa sayhatan wahida. This is something that you can see is in kana illa sayhatan wahida, which is Surah Yasin, verse 29. It was a great scream. Now, someone read this verse as in kanat illa zakiyatan wahida. The word sayha and zakiya have the same meaning as scream. So in kanat illa zakiyatan wahida, it also meant it was one great scream. A fourth example in this regard is variations which change the order of a verse, even change the order of the verse. So in Surah Qaf, the 50th surah, it is said, وَجَاءَتْ سَكْرَةُ الْمَوْتِ بِالْحَقِّ, and the stupor of death came with certainty. Now it is said that Abu Bakr Ta'ala anhu actually read this verse in a different way, and he said, وَجَاءَتْ Sakratul Haqqi bil Maut. So instead of saying Sakratul Mauti bil Haqq, he said Sakratul Haqqi bil Maut, and it would translate as, and the stupor of certainty arrived with death. Still another example of mistakes that were made and then they were allowed to be made, or variations due to addition or deletion of words. Now, a very famous example is of Surah Hadid. So we have the verse which is read out as فَإِنَّ اللَّهَ هُوَ الْغَنِيُّ الْحَمِيدُ, because indeed it is God who is free of all needs, worthy of praise. Now this has been read without huwa as فَإِنَّ اللَّهَ الْغَنِيُّ الْحَمِيدُ, because indeed God is free of needs, worthy of all praise. Once again, the word huwa is not there, but the meaning does not drastically change. So these are some of the examples which Ustaz has also cited and said that they were ratified by the Prophet, and he said that, well, as long as people are not making those prime and major mistakes, they will be accepted. Obviously, because it was in a learning phase, it was an evolution of being acclimatized to a new book, and slowly people were learning these things and they were correcting their mistakes. But until that happened later on, this was something that was allowed. Now we come to the second subphase, in which the Quran was rearranged in the time of the Prophet himself through the Almighty, and of course he did it through Gabriel. So Ustaz says that whilst assuring Prophet Muhammad that he should neither worry about making a mistake or forgetting the Quran, nor being anxious to acquire the whole of it, the whole scheme of God regarding this new arrangement must be understood. And for this, two verses of the Quran have been cited. So the first is سَنُقْرِئُكَ فَلَا تَنْسَى إِلَّا مَا شَاءَ اللَّهُ. Soon we shall recite it to you, then you will not forget except what God pleases. And then we have, this was verses 7 and 8 of Surah 87, which is Surah Ala. And now we have 4 verses from the 75th Surah of the Quran, which is Surah Qiyamah. It says, لَا تُحَرِّكْ بِهِ لِسَانَكَ لِتَعْجَلَ بِهِ إِنَّ عَلَيْنَا جَمْعَهُ وَقُرْآنَ فَإِذَا قَرَأْنَاهُ فَاتَّبِعْ قُرْآنَ ثُمَّ إِنَّ عَلَيْنَا بَيَانَ. O Prophet, to acquire this Quran entirely in order to conclusively convey the truth to your rivals, this is of course something that has that is the understood part of the verse that has been revealed by Ustaz in his translation. Now comes the exact part that the Quran says, do not move your tongue to hastily acquire this Quran. Indeed, upon us is its collection and recital. So, when we have recited it, follow this recital. Then upon us is to explain it. So, while explaining these verses, the scheme of God regarding the revelation and collection of the Quran has been pointed out. And Ustaz says that it can be understood in the form of points. First, the Prophet has been told that the way the Quran is being revealed piecemeal to him, keeping in view the circumstances, is the correct way of revelation. It's not going to come in one go, as was his demand, because his opponents would say that, well, why is the Quran not revealed in one go? So this troubled the Prophet, and he is being told that it's going to be revealed in installments, piecemeal. This is the way it's going to be revealed from God. He should not worry about its protection and collection and arrangement. A new recital will ensue after this chronological one. At that time, if the Almighty intends to revoke something on the basis of His wisdom, He will do so, and then have the Prophet read it in a manner that he will not forget any part of it, and the Quran will be consigned to him in its very final form, which will remain protected. So this is the first statute that he has derived from these set of verses. Second, the second thing which he has said is that this later recital or this final recital would take place once the Quran has been arranged in the form of a book, and simultaneously the Prophet would be bound to follow this recital in future. He would then not be allowed to read the Quran according to its previous recital. So this was the time in which the concession was revoked that was given earlier on as far as mistakes were made. That it was essential that the Quran be read the way it was being given. Of course, also then was the case that the pronunciation and accent also must be the one that the Prophet was given, and that was the dialect of the Quraysh or the accent of the Quraysh. The third point which Ustaz has come up with in this regard from these two verses is that, or these two set of verses, is that it was told that if the application of a Quranic directive needed any explanation, it would be done so at this second recital, and in this manner, this book would stand completed in every way after collection and arrangement and explanation by the Almighty Himself. So we can see that it is this second and final recital of the Quran, which is actually termed as Al-Arda Al-Akhira, which means the final presentation by our authorities. So it is evident from various narratives that each year Gabriel would read out the Quran revealed in that year to the Prophet during the month of Ramadan. In the last year, in Al-Arda Al-Akhira, he read out the Quran twice to him. And this is historically reported that it was read twice to him. So the first narrative says that Abu Hurairah stated, the Quran would be presented to the Prophet each year, and the year he died, it was presented to him twice. Similarly, another narrative from Abdullah ibn Abbas, he stated that the Messenger of God was the most generous of people, and it was in Ramadan that he was the most generous when he would meet Gabriel. He would meet him every night during Ramadan and would present and discuss the Quran with him. So this means that, of course, it was something that was done mutually. So Zayd was a witness to this last presentation, and this is recorded by Al-Baghawi as well. So the Quran was thus preserved in the language and recital of the Quran. This is something unique to this book. And the reason for this was that it was meant to be the Meezan and the Furqan. So Meezan means the scale, and Furqan means the distinguisher between right and wrong. And this is something which has been mentioned in the Quran itself, that in order to make it Meezan and Furqan, in order to make it the scale and the distinguisher, it was given this status that it was preserved both in its writing and in its pronunciation. So as far as the Meezan aspect is concerned, we know that Surah Shura, the 42nd surah, says, Allahu allazi anzala al-kitaba bil-haqqi wal-mizan, which means it is God who has revealed with truth the book, and in this way revealed His Meezan. And regarding Furqan, we know the first verse of Surah, the 25th surah, which is Surah Furqan, it says, Tabaraka allazi nazzala al-furqana ala abdihi liyakuna lil-alamina nadhira. Very exalted and blessed is He who has revealed Al-Furqan to His servants so that it may warn the whole world. So the preservation of the Quran in the Prophet's language and recital, it is now in this second phase that the concession that was given earlier on was revoked.
And to be precise, the first concession in which similar words could be replaced, that was revoked because now this final reading had to be followed. However, the other concession still persists until to this day, which means that various tribes and various people can read the Quran on their own accent. Yes, the accent of the Quraysh is recommended, but it's not something that has to be followed essentially or necessarily.
So this is the first episode in this regard. Inshallah, we'll continue with the next phases in our next episodes. Until then, wa akhiru da'wana alhamdulillahi rabbil alameen.